back, guys. Today we're going to do something. Hopefully this is a simple project. My first time using peel and stick wallpaper. This is wallpaper on these bathroom shower walls already. Obviously it's pretty dated. Feel pretty comfortable and confident. It's not like we're going to be taking a ton of showers in here. We give this a try. This stuff didn't cost a lot of money. If it doesn't work out, then whatever. We'll paint it later. We'll do something. But I think it'll work. And I think it's going to make it look a lot better than just painting the walls. Of course, first we got to remove a couple things. Got to take this off. This is for the shower head. I have a new one of those. We have down here, we have our washcloth rack. We still have our trim off from where we painted these the bathtub. And then in the corners there's trim. So I'm going to get the trim off. I'm going to get these two pieces off. And get this one off. This is for the old for the old shower curtain, which we still have, but I intend to do something different. So let's go ahead and do all that. Okay, so we're going to want to put those trim pieces back on, of course, whenever we're done with the wallpaper. But the white is just off by just a little bit. And so we have some more of that Rust-Oleum appliance epoxy, but this time we have a spray can. I mentioned I want to get the louvers of that. I'm going to do my best to do that without making a mess of anything else. And then we're going to spray these real quick. And as you can see, the screw heads, I didn't want screw heads that were chipped and jacked up, you know. Like, we just got to make it look nice and tidy and uniform and complete. So I poked them all in some cardboard, and we're going to go with that. If you can tell, I feel like it gave a pretty good coat. Pretty nice and white and clean looking now. With these louvers, definitely what worked best was when I flipped it over and started spraying from the back side outward. I think they're going to look pretty good. It's not going to be noticeable, you know, the old dingy yellowish color in there. So let's get back inside and work on the actual shower. Okay, so before I spray painted those parts outside, I was noticing when I took these corner pieces off up in the top, and I hadn't noticed it before. I don't know if this when I painted this ceiling, when I primed it, and I used some spray paint around the edges here just to kind of get in there or whatever. I don't know if that's why or not, but there was wrinkles in that wallpaper, and I figured that the new wallpaper, like, it's pretty wavy, pretty noticeable wrinkles. So I took my razor blade, pretty straightforward, edged that, pulled it out. We do have corner pieces going in, remember, so there's still a little bit in the very corner, but like, we're going to be going over that. I'm not worried about that. It was because they didn't cut a piece in half, so, you know, it just got pressed in. That's why it happened, I think. But anyways, I cut that out. I don't think this transition will be as noticeable as if we were putting wallpaper over top of that. Installing this stuff is as straightforward as it seems. You measure, you cut. It did suggest, which is something I hadn't really quite thought about, is just have like a little bit extra on the top and bottom from where you're going, and then you can just cut that off with your straight razor. While I didn't use a square or anything, I did use a level and just cut with a straight edge to make sure it's reasonably straight. Now at this point right about here, I thought that I was in some big trouble. Did you notice how wrinkled it got? But I was shocked at how forgiving this was and how you could actually get it peeled off and then reapplied. Okay, so what I could do with the corners is, since I have that middle metal bar that's going in there and gets screwed in the wall, I could just leave it all as one piece, push it in, you know, press it out as good as I can in that corner, and then screw it on. But I don't want to end up with any of those wrinkles like were previously there. So I'm going to cut off the strip, and I'm going to do a small short strip on one wall, and then the other strip, the bigger piece on the wall next to it, you know, that bends. So I'm going to cut it. So what I'm going to do now is, I've measured at the top. I mean, obviously it's hard to move around in that shower and do all this. I've got my tape measure. I'm going to see how far that is. Go to the other end, measure that, mark it, and then just use you know, my pencil line and go straight down there, and yeah, go from there. So let's do it. We're basically at 5 3/8. So I'm going to make this mark. My board that I grabbed is not is the full length of this piece, so I'm going to cut it halfway down, and I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom half. Fairly simple. This does cut very easily. And because we have that corner metal bar, this can be very forgiving. So if it was going to be completely exposed, you'd have to be a lot more careful than I'm being with cutting this. I want to get it straight. That's my number one. But my razor blade, you know, like, yeah, there was a little tiny strip where I kind of cut an edge. No big deal, because that's going to be covered. Okay. Now we have one small strip. Hopefully this goes a little easier than that very first piece does. So it didn't take me long to realize and understand and appreciate the importance of starting this off level and correct. I didn't have to go back and adjust anything because I had short runs, but lining up in the pattern of tile that I had on this was really important. And I might be lined up on the top couple quote tile, and then you'd get halfway down and be like, oh, somehow we're angled, or we're off square, so this is almost looking like the tile would be heading up to the right or down to the right or whatever, if you get my drift. So I noticed how important it was. I also noticed it was important, even though it all looks the same, to make sure to be going the same direction rather than take a piece off and put it, quote, upside down or right side up. Some of the learnings I took in the process, it does suggest using a plastic putty knife to press out all the bubbles and whatnot and the wrinkles and form. I noticed it was actually really easy to pull this off the wall, to place it on the wall first, and then maybe peel back where some of your uneven spots or your wrinkles are at, and then kind of, not stretch them out, but just kind of straighten them out. Maybe even run that putty knife over it to straighten it a little bit. I saw a trick on the internet where if you get a really bad wrinkle, you could use a hair dryer and get some heat on it. But I didn't even need to do that anywhere. So I kind of would place it on first just so I had it spread out and I could work with it. And then I might use my arm or my hands just to kind of get it a little bit more surface contact area. And then once I felt like it was decent, lastly, I would use that putty knife and spread everything out and get rid of all the wrinkles and air bubbles. When it came to the corners, for whatever reason, on the second corner, I decided to press it in and then cut. I think it was easier to cut first. And then, of course, the last thing you do is when you get your pieces up, you use a razor blade and cut all the trim all around the edges, and then put your trim pieces back. So we took these pieces off right at the base of the bathtub when we were going to repaint it, when we were using that appliance epoxy paint. There's this channel on the back side. There you see it. And this material is inside there. It's old, it's dry, it's pretty rotted, it's gray. I'm guessing that it's like one of the strips of plumber's putty, but I'm not positive what it was. It's not sticky, it's not a tape. It's definitely more of a putty consistency. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put that back in. Instead, I just got some clear plumber's caulk. It's actually going to go on white and then it'll dry clear. But if you start reading the precautions on the back, they act like this stuff's crazy. And they're like, oh, be super, super careful. It's super, super dangerous. So, safety. All right, so I'm going to put that in the channel and screw them back in. Let's get going. So I pretty much used up that tube of plumber's caulk to fill in the channel and then screw those pieces of metal in. After that, I used regular caulk on the outside and sealed the top of it and the corners and edges. So the lip to this basin is not getting any water in it. Honestly, I probably spent more time than necessary overthinking and concerned with how I should do all this. Specifically because I was doing it different than the way I found it. That made me second guess myself. But I'm confident there's not going to be any leaks for what little showers and what little water we use in that basin. And then my last step of the day was to finish putting the assembly for that shower head on the wall. I mean, come on, guys. That looks 100 times better, doesn't it? We didn't really add any weight. We didn't tear anything up. We just put something new on the wall. That looks so much better. It feels bigger. Obviously, it's not. That epoxy, appliance epoxy stuff, it's holding up good. It did good for the pieces of trim that go on there. You know, we've got a metal cap that's going to keep water from going down the sides there. This obviously is a barrier. We got a lip. But not only that, I put regular caulk. I just put a very, very light, very small bead there. So we should be in good shape. I'm loving it. I think it looks great. It was so surprisingly forgiving. It is a little bit of effort, you know, and peel it off and keep trying. Just be patient. But man, and I think it's also helpful to use a pattern like this that is going to help in hiding some of your imperfections. I think this tile, this marble-ish pattern helped out. I'm thrilled with this one, guys. I hope you like it. Like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you next time.